honestly, like sometimes it's taken me like up to a year to let go of the people and the things that I've cost myself through my behavior and my actions. But that is the reality of it, and you cannot blame those people for that. So, how can we?
I'm not happy about it. I'm tremendously emotionally distressed right now thinking about all the people I've hurt. Because I've done damage. Ready? Let's get started.
Yeah. You got your notes actually, so you gotta fill me in, buddy. What are we doing today?
I'm gonna feel like I'm a new man with note-taking abilities, so I'm gonna use it to the best extent that I can.
Okay.
I feel like we are attacking a lot of my own personal problems in this podcast lately. I am the subject.
Oh, definitely. Like in the last episode, for sure. We dragged you last episode.
It's not gonna get any better today.
Oh, is it not?
No.
What do you want to do today?
Today we were talking about the blindness of being stubborn.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if that doesn't apply to you, I don't know what does.
Yeah. I've had to deeply analyze the reasons for being stubborn. I'm starting to wonder, why can't we just focus on things like gratitude? It's so much easier.
You're right. And we'll get there. Maybe we will do an episode after this on gratitude, but for now.
And again, poking at like not being gracious enough.
Yeah, right now we're hooking you to the plow, bub.
We're dragging me through the fields here.
Right.
But yeah, being stubborn. It's one of the more difficult topics, I'd say, primarily because those who are stubborn do not realize typically that they are being stubborn.
Not typically, especially not you.
No, definitely not.
And I'm kidding. And I don't either, man. I mean, realistically, I'm stubborn in a lot of things.
Yeah, but I think it's. I've had to look at it and ask myself, okay, why? Why couldn't I see that I was stubborn?
That's usually the first question, right? Like, why? Like, why even be stubborn? Because like it never works out. It never pans out to be a stubborn.
I would disagree, right? I think stubborn is a coping mechanism.
Ooh. Okay.
Being stubborn is a coping mechanism. And so it goes into, I had some notes on this one, right?
Okay.
You have to ask yourself the question, why are we stubborn? And it typically comes down to, well, I just don't trust someone else's decision-making process. I trust mine more than anyone else's.
Is that why it took you a month to get your mic and mic stand? Is that why that happened?
Yes.
It took Fareed a month to get the mic and mic stand because he didn't want it to clutter his table.
I was wrong. And this is great, actually, so I was completely wrong.
Just giving you a hard time, buddy. I love you.
I appreciate that.
I don't want people like that. I don't want the viewers to think I just like bully the shit out of you.
Oh, it only looks that way because I'm in a vulnerable state and I can't fight back these days.
Oh, that's okay, buddy.
You just beat me down constantly, and I'm just sitting here like,
right.
Please no more.
Take it, and you like it. Yes, Papa, may I have some more?
Part of your healing.
Right. Yeah, it's like the concept of God and like, character development. He only gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. What a crock of shit.
Listen, I've heard that statement throughout my years, and I would just laugh. I'm like, that's something someone said to themselves to feel better.
Yeah, for sure, dude, for sure.
I think God tests us, right?
Sure.
But man, like that one is a very self-absorbed kind of a, oh, woe is me, my life is so hard. God must really love me.
Right, yeah.
Right? I will say, though, that I like the statement of, what is it? I asked for strength, so God gave me situations to make me strong. That one I like a lot more.
That's fair.
Because the more I sit here wishing for certain attributes, I start to realize that they wouldn't matter as much if they had just been given to me for free. Right? So we come back to stubbornness, right?
Yeah.
I would lead that into...
You keep talking.
I would lead that into wisdom, so to speak. And if you can pray for wisdom, you have to have the trials and tribulations that bring you wisdom. You don't just get to wake up one day and be wise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That checks out.
So that's where I sit with it. So back to the main point. Why are we stubborn?
Yeah, why are you stubborn, Fareed? Why does this happen, buddy?
Because I am a control freak, and I didn't trust other people's decision making.
That's where I would argue that that's the focal point. Like for me, that would be my main point. Like, why are people stubborn? It's a control.
Mm-hmm.
It's a desperate grasp at some sense of control.
And then we ask again the question:
Mm-hmm.
Why are you seeking control?
Comfort.
Coping mechanism.
Yeah. That's fair.
It comes straight down to I am uncomfortable with everything around me. So at least if I'm steering the ship, you can't kill me.
Or you have the idea of safety. I'm
not saying it's true.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the idea is there. And that might be just enough for some people. People like I, of course, right?
Yeah.
I've constantly fought off people. And to be fair, it's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
For me, I know that, at least growing up, I had to correct a lot of people. Yeah, but the problem is not that
What do you mean?
I was just constantly around people I was correcting. And the problem wasn't that I was just this great, all-knowing person. The issue was that I was just simply putting myself around people that were just like not quite where I was. And the real thing is to get yourself into a room where you are the dumb one.
Wow.
Right? So it's just the kind of people you surround yourself with, and you'll create a cognitive dissonance, right?
No doubt.
If you hang around dumb people all the time, you'll be like, I'm just a genius.
Right, I am the shit, yeah.
I'm just the most incredible thing ever. And then when I started putting myself around people that were just way smarter than I was.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, to be way smarter doesn't mean that they're just overall way smarter, just in different scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Like Derek we were talking about.
Yeah, I like Derek. I can't wait to have him on. That's going to be cool.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, I hope he ends up coming on.
He's so emotionally intelligent, it hurts.
It does hurt sometimes, yeah. It does hurt sometimes.
And he talks about it in such a silly manner. You're like, what are you doing?
Like it's just like second nature to the guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
He's like, you're just, even though you're not trying, you're mocking me by speaking.
Right.
You're
mocking.
My very existence is in question because you exist.
You're right.
So
those are cool people to be around, though, man. Like I prefer that, honestly. Like even though it very real, it does hurt sometimes. I prefer that. I prefer to be around people that I at least perceive to be, or that definitely are way smarter than me. Cause I like it, man. I'll pick their brain. That's how I learn. Doesn't bother me a bit.
Oh, absolutely. So we come down to the conclusion, like being stubborn. The question is always why. And I think we have a decent grasp over why are we stubborn.
Right.
Everyone's different. I don't think this will line up for just everybody, but I think that's the root cause for the majority of stubborn people. Yeah. I mean, nothing else makes sense, right?
Well, I think some things might make sense, but in this context, yeah, this is definitely the idea. This is seems to be the common motive.
I look back on my life, and I keep asking, why was I so stubborn with people? And it was simply because I didn't trust their decision-making process. That's
fair. I think I agree to that, even on a personal level, too. Because you remember when we first met, and I brought my truck to you to get the lift kit put on it and stuff like that, and I was just... Man, I was so stubborn. Dude, I was edgy, man.
You were a piece of work on that.
Oh, I was dare I say, a prick.
A little prick.
Right. Man,
I had to be just as much of a prick with you, though, to understand that, look at me. I'm the captain now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've needed people in my life
to
come up to me and look at me and say, I'm the captain now.
Right. Yeah.
It's a hard one.
It's tough. Yeah.
So then the question becomes, we've identified we're stubborn. We identified why are we stubborn. I guess we've identified why are people stubborn, not are we stubborn.
Yeah.
The question becomes, how does this affect other people?
Ooh, yeah. That one. Little Remington.
We've got Remington playing with her chew toy.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't think any of the viewers are going to be upset about little puppos.
A cute little dog playing with her toy.
Right.
Quiet.
It would be cooler if you could see her. Because just the sound alone is just not that cute.
Snap, crackle, pop, yeah.
Right. Remy, honey.
Remington, enough.
You got to stop, honey. You got to quit that.
She's going to look at you like, got it, right back to this toy.
Right.
See?
Yeah.
So the question is, how does this affect other people? And I can see in at least in my life,
yeah,
horrible.
Yeah.
I have alienated people I care about.
Oof.
Deeply.
Yeah.
Because I've been so stubborn, right?
Yep.
My way or the highway. And more importantly, when people gave me their suggestions, being as stubborn as I am or was, trying to become less of that, right?
Right.
I couldn't even identify how their ways would help the situation because I couldn't see anything other than my own way.
Man, you're just tunnel vision, right?
Yeah.
Like all you see. And I think some of that, maybe people are stubborn. Like another point to add of why is a coping mechanism, sure, but like, again, pain and like the avoidance of that pain. And like, it's so much easier to be stubborn and not allow those other perspectives to get into your consciousness and or in your way of thinking by avoiding the pain in that way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, by agreeing to their point of view, you're absolutely questioning your own.
Yeah.
Because then you have to come to the conclusion that I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
My compass is not as accurate as I thought it was. Then you have to start questioning, well, what am I doing? Am I doing anything correctly?
Sometimes it gets to that point, man. Sometimes it's a question of that. It's a question of, am I doing anything right at this point? And like, that's okay. Like that kind of sounds like, you know,
you've lost trust in yourself at that point. But that's the truth, right? It kills a little bit of yourself when you're that stubborn and you have to accept someone else's word.
Yeah.
Because like, I just don't trust myself.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. Which would make it just all the more of a mind-boggling situation.
Yeah, that's a hard place to be. I've been there. I've been there to where like I've had situations unfold in my life where I'm like, is it me? Like, do I have no cognitive ability to make
decisions,
relatively intelligent and like safe decisions for myself? Like, definitely emotionally, like financially, I've always been decent on that. I've never like been the person that has like a spending problem or like racking up money on credit cards. Like I've just never done that. But like emotionally, I've been in that place. I have been in that place where I'm like, am I capable? Am I cognitively functioning enough to make sound decisions for myself emotionally right now?
And so you have to face that, and that's just difficult,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of me being difficult, right?
Right.
And not accepting someone else's words of advice or help, you're hurting them. Because now you're saying, I just don't trust you. But you love me. We're so close. You're da-da-da, right? I'm like your girlfriend. I'm your partner, whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't trust you. So we're going to follow my lead. And then when they follow your lead and you lead them ultimately into like the stormiest of waters, you're the captain that took them there.
It's a hard pill to swallow, especially when it ends with the ship sinking. It's tough.
And they trusted you.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what? I know better, but I'm going to trust you, which means they gave you something you couldn't give them.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah.
Which that one hurt the most. I came to that realization, I want to say, last night.
Oh, wow. Dang, that recent. He said, let's podcast about it.
Well, I mean, realistically, we're just dissecting me. We could just call this podcast the dissection of Fareed, right?
Yeah. At least for these couple episodes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll maybe get back. We'll maybe get back to the funnies after.
Is there anything funny after death?
Is there any hope after this? We'll get back to the funnier podcast, poking fun a little bit more after this. But these are good. I like that we're having like a little blend of some
serious ones. We have no
ones.
viewers yet, and you're like, listen, guys, this is the best
we're talking to absolutely no one.
In case nobody hears this, now you know.
Right.
But, yeah, the difficult part is you don't trust them. You take them into stormy waters. Yeah. You sink the ship, and then you continue going, you have to trust me.
Yeah, and then like at that point, you just have to accept the consequences because there's going to be people that are like, "Hey, man, this crew sucks. Let's go over to this crew. This guy's ship looks awesome."
Yep, and I would say that's at least for me in relationships, right? Dating, they go find another shipmate.
Yeah,
and you can't blame them.
No,
you can't blame them.
Can't blame them, man.
They're right because they were right to do so.
Yeah, yeah.
Hurts, but they were right to do so. Because your judgment is not sound. You're not listening to other input.
Yeah.
Mutiny isn't an option.
Yeah.
Right? It's, I'm going to go find a crew that isn't going to sink our ship every time.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Like you said, you can't blame them,
So then I guess we lead on to another big important question.
Okay.
How do you identify it? And it's very difficult, at least in my opinion, because when you're that stubborn, you're typically blind to it. Because
I was going to say, on your own, it would be tough. It would be tough, honestly.
It's your MO. It's your modus operandi, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had people yelling at me that I was stubborn. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're wrong. You're being stubborn right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know better than you. What are you talking about?
Right.
And like, that's such a cycle. How do you break that cycle?
Let's see. How did I break that? So honestly, man, I think I just got to that threshold where I was just tired of feeling the way I was feeling. Like it will cause you to feel a certain way. Like even though you believe that you're right and everybody else is wrong, like it will make you feel a certain way. You will have a certain heaviness about you that you wake up with every day. And like you will have this sense of confusion. And eventually it just gets to the point where you're like, hey, this is bullshit. I don't want to feel this way anymore. And then maybe it is where you talked about earlier, you get to that point where it's like, am I doing anything right? And maybe that answer is no. Or possibly no. And then you go to the drawing board and you start considering, like, where could I be wrong? Who could be right? You start exploring the navigating the realm of possibility of all these things and answering all these questions.
I think the discovery to stubbornness is definitely a personal journey because I didn't relate to anything you just said.
No. Wow. See, I maybe that just proves that it's just different for everybody then.
That's my concern, right?
It's definitely different for everybody.
How do you figure that out? Is there a universal rule for it? I don't know anymore. Because for me...
Yeah, I don't know. If there's a universal... I don't know if there's a universal one, yeah.
There should be something, though. There's got to be a formula you can create to be like, you know what? These are signs of someone who's coping with, fear of losing control, so they're being stubborn.
As far as like signs and symptoms, I would just say people walking out of your life. Like, what's your life look like?
That's what it had to be for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Like what does it look like for you? Like, it was that way for me. Like, it wasn't always romantic relationships. It was even friends. Like, I was like, people were just like not wanting to be around me, or like they did, but like at a distance.
But then you have to be very,
I didn't like.
But then that's what another dangerous question comes in, right? Like, oh, were they right to leave? Or, God, thank God they're gone now. They were just cramping my style. Because if you're so stubborn, you don't see it. I just don't know. I know for me,
you're even tiptoeing into like territory of like, well, narcissistic traits.
Absolutely,
well, grandiosity type.
But I think those narcissistic traits can be, they can be confused for narcissism if you're just doing it because you know no other way of protection.
I mean that is what narcissism is.
Is it though?
It's a personality disorder developed from
safety. Is it? Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, narcissism, and obviously, like, I'm sure there's more to it, and I'm not claiming to know everything about narcissism, but it is a very, very desperate attempt to feel validated and worthwhile. Narcissism stems from a very, very deep-rooted self-hatred. And using coping mechanisms of like grandiose thoughts of like, or just like the sense of grandiosity and knowing better to make yourself feel comforted because you didn't get that from people that you should have gotten it from as a child. But like narcissism is diagnosable, like in like only symptom management, if narcissists also lack any sense of empathy.
God,
are you a narcissist, Fareed?
Oh my God.
And I don't want to throw those terms around loosely. Like that is a diagnosable personality disorder. And like, and a lot of people throw that term around, like, especially like, honestly, like no, not to cast any shade on anybody that talks about these things.
Just me.
No, well, I'm just saying, like, not to throw any shade on anybody that talks about these things, because it is important to talk about and make sure that like inside of your relationships, friendships, you're being respected and to identify these behaviors. But like, I don't want to throw it around so loosely. It is a diagnosable personality disorder. And if you can relate to it, it doesn't mean you're a narcissist. People are so quick to be like, yeah, he's a narcissist. They're a narcissist, like it's not like that.
So I'm just sitting here quietly realizing I've been indulging in narcissistic traits because that was a safety mechanism. Mm-hmm. Now the key here is not to say but. There's no defending those traits. It's accepting them.
Yeah, definitely accept them. Take accountability for them, for sure.
Taking accountability. I don't get to say, oh, but I was just trying to protect myself.
Yeah, tough.
Can't do that.
No.
I had narcissistic traits. My therapist actually discussed this with me. He said, you're not a narcissist. So there's the good news.
Trying to comfort you. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, what do I say to this guy?
Well, I mean, that was one of the first things we discussed.
Yeah.
Because I did have some desire. I had a lot of desire for self-accountability.
Yeah.
But I think having narcissistic traits in this context help to blind you from being a stubborn son of a gun. And just listening to you talk, which is another tough one for me, right? And actually, that might be where that stems from.
Is it?
Oh, my God.
Is it hard for me to listen to me talk?
Always. No. Something I was called upon. There go the sponsors.
Right? Better help.
No. Yeah. Why? So one of the things I was always criticized about is you listen with your ears, not your mouth. Stop trying to formulate a response before they're done talking. Right? And is it narcissistic behavior? Yes. Comes from being stubborn? Yes. Because you're sitting there so hard trying to defend yourself from something that hasn't even happened yet. They haven't even finished their thought yet. You don't know if they're attacking you. They don't know if they're, even if they are criticizing you.
Right.
Oh, well. Shut up, listen, learn. They're explaining to you that something is upsetting them.
Right. So rest assured, you saying that you're not a narcissist, but it's okay. It's okay. And your life flashed before your eyes.
Oh my God! I just saw so many years ago. Like, oh my God, I've just been wrong.
Right. It's okay to be wrong
the entire time.
It's all right.
But that's the point of these discussions, right? It's to right our wrongs. You may not be able to save every relationship you've wronged, but you can at least move forward knowing you're not
that part about like being stubborn, learning these lessons, doing all these things we've been talking about, man, that is the hardest pill to swallow. You have to accept that, and it's hard to let go. Like honestly, like sometimes it's taken me like up to a year to let go of the people and the things that I've cost myself through my behavior and my actions. But that is the reality of it, and you cannot blame those people for that. So how can we?
I'm not happy about it. I'm very I'm tremendously emotionally distressed right now thinking about all the people I've hurt because I've done damage to their psyche.
Yep.
Especially when they care about you so much and you just won't listen. They feel like they're screaming at a wall and the wall is just going.
And I've been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
That sucks, man. Yeah. But you have to accept it. You have to let go because those people deserve to just be able to move on and like wipe their hands clean of you, and that's fine. But that's a risk we take, right? Like that's just the human experience, man. There is a risk of joy and there is a risk of pain. That is just how it is on both parties. It's just, so you can't like stay so hung up on that. But like, yeah, you most definitely have to respect the decisions of others to walk away from that. But you'll learn that way, right? Like
that one's gonna drag with me for days, if not weeks.
Yeah,
that one's gonna hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
Yeah.
Because at least in my case, I try to be cognitive of like, what am I putting out to the world?
Yeah.
I was just so blind. So tremendously blind. And I think that goes into, we've identified it. How to identify it? It's going to have narcissistic traits, right?
Sure.
Traits of self-protection constantly. So I guess there you go. You don't identify the behavior itself, you kind of lead the symptoms to it.
Yeah. Where does it come from?
You start to realize, well, they're constantly arguing. They constantly need to be in control. Maybe it's something someone identifies for you or helps you identify.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's going to take a lot of self-accountability, of course, as well. Yeah. Tough one to identify, but there are ways. And it's in your defense mechanism. It's in the way you talk. Okay, you're being controlling of the situation. You're not listening to reason. Okay.
Yeah.
And we've kind of discussed how it affects others. So now the question really becomes,
how do you fix it?
How do you fix it, right?
Yep. How do you take all this, fix it, move on? I think I already started to kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Accept it. Accept the damage that it's caused. Acceptance, realistically. But the acceptance of the damage that it's caused and the people that have walked out of your life consequently.
I think part of acceptance, though, should require some sort of an apology.
That's valid,
right?
That's reasonable.
You at least give you give the people that moved away from you the validation that they were correct and you were wrong. it gives the opportunity to those you have hurt to understand that you've acknowledged the hurt you've caused them.
Yeah.
And hopefully validate their feelings. That's an important one. I think you should apologize to an extent to some of these people.
No, that's totally fair, because if you don't, here's the other harsh reality is that, like, you have to accept the damage that you caused in the way that makes you feel. But, like, I agree with you saying that you should apologize, because if you don't, and you don't give people that validation, and not to say that you're responsible for making everybody feel good, but, like, that could hang them up for years.
Yeah, because you gaslit them.
Yeah, that could hang them up for years. And, you know, gaslight, like, I don't like to throw that term around, like, super light either, because, like, I don't believe that, you know, even in your situation, if we just talk about you, that you did this intentionally. Like, gaslighting has intentional harmful motives behind it. You know what I mean? Like, you're intentionally doing things and intentionally trying to make somebody feel a certain way and manipulate their emotions. Like, I don't think you were doing that.
No.
So, but you very well, without clearing those things up, or at least apologizing and saying, hey, I was wrong, like, that could hang that person up for years, because they're going to wonder what they did wrong, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my gosh, like, I trusted them. I shouldn't have. Like, I shouldn't have gave them that trust to captain that ship. Like, if you take the step in and say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. Captain. I did not captain that ship very well. Like, that gives them the reassurance and, like, gives them at least the comfort of, hey, it wasn't all me. Like, it wasn't my judgment that was entirely wrong. It wasn't just me making this huge mistake of trusting this person.
Next topic.
Yeah, you got it already,
I got one already, yeah.
Man, we're going to keep the one serious one. That's okay. That's good.
Well, fixing the issue you've created by being blind, by hurting others. It's acceptance. It's apologizing.
Yeah.
But those only cover up the symptoms, I think.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
You have to. I'm going to go ahead and say carte blanche here. It's just therapy, right?
Which is, like, I know, like, and as cookie cutter as that is, a blanket statement, that's man, it is a blanket statement for a reason.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
And the reason we want therapy, and I'm going to underline that pretty nicely, is because you now need to identify what hurt you. Why do you feel you have to be the captain the whole time? Why is it that only you can drive?
Yeah. Why can't you be a crew member?
Why can't you be a crew member? Yeah.
Man the sail a little bit, you know.
It's everywhere. So identify, why is it that you can't be a team player? Why can't you take orders?
Wow.
And that's where therapy comes in. You have to take that time, right? And maybe you should identify these things before you apologize. I think it'll probably be somewhere around acceptance, you know, identification of these problems.
Yeah.
Really, truly sit and settle with them, and then apologize. Because you can't go out and apologize, which I learned this from a very important person. She explained to me the proper way to apologize. And I think this fits into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The proper way to apologize is that, you know, you acknowledge, I have caused you harm.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
The I'm sorry is kind of pointless without identifying the harm. Right? You can just acknowledge, like, fair. I know I've hurt you.
It's a very empty promise, or empty apology, yeah.
You know, whether you realize it or not, you say, I'd like to discuss, right, how I made you feel. That's the process of identification of what you've done wrong, right? Maybe you don't quite understand, but they say, well, you said X, Y, Z, and that really hurt my feelings because it feels like this to me. Okay. Take a moment to understand why you did those things, right, and how you can correct it, and you explain to them, hey, I now acknowledge, I understand what I did wrong.
Yeah.
I can see how that was incorrect. I am sorry for having hurt you the way that I did. This is what I'm going to do in the future to not do that again, right?
Yeah. Man, that is textbook apology. That is the correct way to say sorry.
Yes. Acknowledgement, discussion.
Not negotiable. Not negotiable.
Identification.
That is how you say sorry.
And then you corrective action.
Yeah.
Right.
Corrective action. Because it is jack shit without corrective action.
One of the biggest flaws I had for the longest time here, and you know, she would criticize me all the time about it. She would say, "Stop just apologizing."
Dang, dude.
They would just say, "You just say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What are you sorry for?"
Yeah.
I don't freaking know. Actually, you're right. I just heard I was hurting you, so I said I'm sorry.
Damn,
I'm not sorry.
You are a prick.
Little one, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been not my best person for a very long time.
No, that's fair, man. Identifying that and correcting it is all anybody could ever ask of you, though. To be fair, all jokes aside, seriously.
And I have to want to say a very important thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are very easy things to say in a safe and controlled environment such as this one.
Mm-hmm. When I'm not the person that you hurt.
Yeah, and these are going to be a lot more difficult to implement in the midst of an argument.
Yeah, depending on your dynamic, depending on your dynamic with that person that you're discussing with, yeah.
Well, I'm going to make the argument that you've gone through some healing, you've gone you've worked through some of your stuff. The true test is you're in a discussion, an argument, a heated debate with a person you care about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to let your old ways override the work you've done, right? Dig back into being stubborn.
Mm.
Or are you going to sit there and really take a moment and just,
Yeah, that corrective action long term, man, for sure.
Because the hard part about all that is sitting there and actually saying, you know what, no, it's time to trust them.
Yeah,
we've tried my way.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have to discern, at what point do you still have some valid points, right?
Yeah.
It's basically finding a way to come back to zero, because you've already been to the extreme, right?
Yeah.
And then something in the middle.
Something in the middle. That's where we all fight to be, that happy medium, man. In every aspect of our lives, it's where we fight to be.
I used to be incredibly frustrated with myself because I felt I was too middle of the road, too centered, because I felt like I stood for nothing.
Which is a possibility. You can also do that. But that sounds more like just standing more to the side of meekness than being in the happy middle.
That's what it felt like, right? Like, I'm not really, I see both sides and da-da-da-da. No, it just means you're trying to be reasonable because typically both sides have a point.
Yeah.
Right? And there's nothing wrong with being in the middle as long as you're analyzing the situation and realizing, what? These are each valid points. You can't just say carte blanche, you're both right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you can be in that happy middle and still stand for something is what I'm saying. Like, if you felt like you weren't standing for something, like, that could have maybe potentially been, like, a sign of meekness. Like,
absolutely.
Just actually not standing for anything. But, like, being in the middle doesn't mean you don't have to stand for anything.
And now I find myself at 32 years old running back to the middle because that's where you should be.
Valid.
Of a well-versed,
well-rounded
human being.
Open-minded. Constantly questioning everything you've ever known to be true.
Even if it's yourself.
Even if it is yourself, man. And that is hard, and that takes a lot of vulnerability. That takes a lot of open-mindedness. That takes a lot of things. That is a hard place to be. And, to be fair and to be blunt, a lot of people just don't have it, man. Myself included. Like a lot of people that know me now and know this version of me and didn't know me like 5 years ago, you're like, wow, how do you have any trouble in your life? How do you this or that? Like, you just seem so well put together. Listen, constant challenging myself, my beliefs, everything I've ever believed to be true. I am constantly making sure and making sure that I don't get closed-minded and tunnel vision and being like, we've talked about this whole episode, being narrow-minded and stubborn and being like, nope, my way is awesome. This is working for me. This nothing else can possibly be right because I feel good. I feel good being in the captain's seat, but sometimes, man, you got to get on the boat or row a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I look back now and I realize that we could all do a lot more with a little bit of removing that tunnel vision, being less stubborn with each other.
Taking them blinders off, man.
I feel awful about it. Like, I really do. I feel this sense of, it's a weird sense of dread, knowing that I've been this way for so long.
That's fair. Yeah, no, that's.
And I think that's the part of acceptance when you're just like, wow, I really did those things. I really said those things. And I mean, the example, actually, from a few podcasts before, right?
Oh, when we were watching the footage?
Yeah.
This is cool. I'll put a clip in. I'll put it in right here.
I have a few memories from my childhood, man, but they're not that important. I mean, they're great. I love them when I do remember them, but to me, they're not the thing's going to get me to the next thing. They're there to remind me what being a child's like, but now I'm an adult. I have to focus on that, what an adult is like, and I can use some of those memories to empathize with children, or when I have children, so I can give them the credibility they and respect they deserve. But that's it. That's all they're there for at this point. And to remind me to, like, don't put a fork in the electrical socket. Repressed thoughts of my childhood.
Yeah.
My entire adult life since I was 18, and slightly before that, right?
Yeah.
Was completely screwed up because I didn't acknowledge my childhood and the issues that I had.
Yeah. And
that was another, like, opening moment for me. Like, wow, I've been stubborn with everyone, even myself. Like, I couldn't.
Yeah, right.
How could I listen to the girlfriend telling me, like, you're being stubborn? I couldn't hear myself being stubborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like that acceptance is painful, though. Yeah. And I think that's why people don't like to do the acceptance part. Yeah. I think people really avoid pain.
Yeah, we do. We talked about that a lot in the last episode too. Yeah.
And I think
welcome it, baby.
Yeah, you have to accept that pain, not because you enjoy it, but because of the growth it can give you.
Right.
Masochist.
Me?
A little bit.
Surely not.
As I pray 5 times a day, he's holding up the devil horns.
Right.
I pray to keep Satan away from you. You're like, hello there.
Right. Hello.
I think that's a good place to end it off, man.
It's a good one, man. This was a good one. Yeah. And it's tough, man. It's tough. I really sincerely, with every atom of my existence, hope that people get something from this.
I hope so too.
Because that's all I hope to get. Like, yeah, we share a little bit of that pain, a little bit of our experience, and hopefully you don't get dragged too much. But
yeah, hopefully my
the
pain
internet's
and your
pain.
Place. Hopefully our collective pain can have an influence on somebody else.
I hope so, man.
Maybe learn from the mistakes that we've made, so you don't have to, live it yourself. That's a huge one, right? If
at least just steer you around. At least be like, hey, this road sucks.
Road was not fantastic.
This one's gonna bust tires. This one's gonna cost you a lot of breakdowns.
Would
just
not
recommend. Go this way.
Yep. People that constantly try to pull you out of those ditches, they get stuck too. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been good, man. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully you guys get something from it. That's all I could ever hope for.
Guys, do us a favor if you are enjoying this content. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is probably the last episode that we're going to record before we launch. So we're going to be on all platforms, ideally. So we'll be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever else is out there. Check us out, because every platform we can possibly be on, I promise I'm going to upload it to.
TikTok snippets.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, all of it. So follow us, guys. We're going to have a lot of weird and interesting topics. You're going to get to see Devin and I get literally dissected.
Yeah. Like some of them will be serious like this, and others will be funny. Like our other couple episodes are really fucking goofy and funny.
Karens.
Yeah, we talked about Karens. We talked about no, we were still serious in one of them, the toxic family members, and kind of breaking away from that. So
follow along.
Yeah, follow along.
Till next time, guys.
Peace.
Bye. This is to learn. If we're just sitting here talking about poop all day and laughing at fart jokes and
fart jokes, those are the best, aren't they?
No,
I still can't believe the hot girl shit, man.
I broke the one rule of improv, and you're like, I don't care.
It's so crazy.
Isn't that so funny? No. Anyways, hot girls poop sometimes, and that's weird to me.
Listen, wow. I have had some hot girls take the fattest shits in my toilet. It's despicable.
What is wrong with you, ladies?
It's not human. No, I don't care. I think it's hilarious. But it is impressive. It's mind-boggling. Hot girls are always constipated, too. They always have bowel trouble.
I think the funny ones are when they're like, I'm just going to use the restroom real quick. You don't hear from them for like half an hour.
Bro, it's because they hold it for like a fucking week.
And they come back.
Huh?
I don't know what happened, but it won't go down.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I've had to plunge. more toilets after a situation like that, you know?
Man.
Sometimes you have to remind them, like, you know, we've been dating. I love you, right?
Dude, listen, I will not do that. I will not hold my farts for anybody. I don't care if it's the first time we've met you or that I've met you. Like, I am cutting ass. I'm not going to sit there and have stomach cramps, honey. I'm sorry. Like, it's not going to happen.
I remember having just a friend of mine. She was just a friend. And she, like, to my face was like, it was the dog.
No way. No way. She blamed the dog, bro? That the dog shit in the toilet?
She's like, I picked it up and I threw it in the toilet. I'm like, sure you did.
No way, dude. Oh my God. We have to have a whole episode about this. We have to uncover this. Sorry to whoever this is and that we're going to expose you. We obviously won't use your name. But wow, we have to have a conversation about that.
I died that day. I was like, yeah. I'm plunging the dog's turd.
Right, yeah. This just turd the size of my fucking leg.
Why does that look like the burger you had?
God, dude. Wow.
Back to fixing it, right?
Yeah, back to making it diet. Right. Oh, man.
Fiber. Some
fiber. Plenty of water.
Water and some, what is it, magnesium?
Yeah, magnesium for sure. Mag citrate. You ever drank that stuff?
And that's supposed to liquefy you from the inside out.
Yeah, that actually liquefies your organs.